Here we are back again, episode 232. I'm Gav, and this time we've got back again, finally, Chris. Welcome back.
Thanks, buddy. And the fans be made up.
Yeah, Tony's tried to hold the fort down with some of his funny stories. So
They've been good episodes. I've been listening to them
I
into the.
don't know how he gets into some of these situations, but it's so funny when he starts telling the stories.
Tony's just like he strikes me as like a guy that sometimes is too nice for his own good.
He is.
Like I was
He
listening
is.
to some of the older episodes, and I think I messaged you about it in the background. But that dude, he had moved into his house for a while. He just took the absolute bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Him and his wife, they're far too. They are just like lovely people.
yeah.
Like they're going back to the UK later on this year, and there's talk of us adopting my brother's dog, which is currently at my mum and dad's. And my mum and dad don't want this dog. It's a lovely dog. It's a French bulldog called Bonnie, and she's 4. Well, she's 3. She's almost 4. Um, and like my mum was gonna bring the dog over at Christmas time, but you can't travel with dogs during the winter months. Like it's too cold.
Oh,
So
really? Yeah.
so Tony's like, we'll bring her back. And I'm like, I can't ask you to do that because you're not asking. We're offering like, you pay for everything. We'll pick it up. We'll bring it back with us. And
He's
I'm
a
like,
good
you
dude,
guys are
isn't he?
just
He's a
too
good
nice.
dude.
Like,
It's good. It's good. It's good to have friends like that. You know what I mean? Like those are
yeah,
the sorts of people who, you know what I mean? Like even without asking. Like I remember listening to the episode a little while ago where obviously you talked about going to London and
yeah,
being, having so unfortunately you got sort of mugged, didn't you? And your phone was
yeah,
taken off you by them women.
yeah,
And I think you were talking about like I think it was Tony that you were basically saying you were bringing an iPad back for him or something.
yeah,
And like his first reaction to it was like, "Oh, you should have. Don't worry about the iPad because you mentioned, oh, I was worried had they taken the bag and they taken the iPad as well." And his
yeah,
first reaction, without even like thinking, was, "Why would you be worried about that?"
yeah. Well, what he said was, he goes, I'd rather they'd have took the iPad than the phone.
That was it. Yeah,
Like, he's just
and I was
like,
like,
it's just what he's like. But like, even so, he likes cooking. So he makes like dishes that, Chinese dishes, but like Chinese dishes that you'd get back home in the UK, not here. So and he makes stews and stuff, and he's really good at it. And like, so when he makes these things, he always makes a little portion for me, and he'll bring it to the house, even when I'm at work. So when I get home, there's like a little plastic Tupperware box of like a meal on the step. And like it's like the milkman. Like I'll leave the empties out for him, and he'll like take the empties and bring like new ones with another meal. And it's like he does it all the time. But he'll even do things like he'll say like, what are you having for your tea tonight? Or as they say over here, your supper. Like, what are you having? And I'll say, sometimes I go, well, I don't know yet because there's really nothing in. Like, we're due to go shopping in a few days, and like the cupboards are kind of bare at the moment. Like that when it gets to that point of the month where you're due to go, but you haven't been yet, so there's not a lot of food in. And he'll go, I'll get you the KFC, and I'm like, no, don't do that. It's fine. And he'll just show up with a KFC unannounced. Like he'll just knock.
yeah,
One of the kids will call me upstairs and say Tony's at the door. I'll go up and he's stood there with a KFC for me. Like he's done that multiple
what a guy.
times. Like,
What a guy. He's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's not about the fact that like he gives you these things, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it's very generous and stuff as well. It's the fact that he thinks of it and he would go out of his way to do something like that for you. Like,
exactly.
how nice is that? There's not
Yeah.
many people out there that would do stuff like that. You're like, look at Bertie, right? And you know, most people who listen to this will remember the box fairly recently of him asking for
Yes.
berries and all sorts of stuff. Most people would have had that conversation with Bertie or whoever else and would have gone, oh, and they'd had the best of intentions and they'd have gone, I'll send you it, you know what I mean? Tony
Yeah.
will.
Tony will and did. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he absolutely did, yeah. Heart of gold,
Yeah.
that guy.
But I actually think as well, he's a good example of like what a Scouser is. Like a lot of Scousers are very welcoming and friendly people.
Yeah,
And he is the epitome of a Scouser, of a nice Scouser. Like, of a northwestern British person.
I think
Um,
so. I
yeah.
think it's easy as well for people to, like the Scousers get a bit of a rep, don't they, in some circles, but more because of, what do you call them, like tropes or stereotypes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That like they're going to be thieves or bad people or whatever else.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like in the same way that like gypsies would get that sort of, reputation or whatever. But you know, as me and you know, that's more often not the case. And I
Yeah,
guess probably a sign of this, and a lot of people may have seen this. I wasn't going to talk about this today, but the the Liverpool Football Club victory parade was over the weekend, and I'm sure you've seen in the news there was like a car that drove into a bunch of people.
yeah, terrible.
Um, and like I knew people who were over there at the time
Yeah,
and started getting messages and all sorts, and like apparently there was people shouting like terror attack and stuff at
yeah,
the scene, and it didn't stop. Like, that could have been a car bomb or anything. Luckily, by the sounds of it, it was just an idiot who'd had a few too many, ended up on a street he shouldn't have been on. And he got scared when people were telling him to not be on the street and opening his car doors and stuff. And he's freaked out and he's done whatever he's done and driven through the crowds. But that could, for all those people now rush towards that car to pull the guy out and stop him doing any more damage, that could have been a car bomb.
yeah, it could have been. Yeah,
And 50, 60 people rushed at the car to
yeah,
stop it. You know what I mean?
yeah, they
Like,
did. Yeah, yeah, I seen that. Yeah,
not to paint other cities in a bad light or anything or other people in a bad light because it's not the intention at all. But I'd be willing to put money that most places people would have just stood there with the phones out.
yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah, yeah, it's true. But it's like Liverpool were just like on it, like they were just on it straight away. Like,
Like maybe a little bit too on it in some cases because some of
yeah,
the videos
it's
it's like kill him, you know what I mean? It's
yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
like whoa, get the facts here, guys. Let's get the facts, you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, I did
don't
see that. Yeah, that
know.
was it was a shame, but it was like it was a good example of like of people pulling together and getting through it. And it didn't like, I mean, it did tarnish the day, but people still continue to celebrate and like it still like was an amazing. I mean, I'm glad I wasn't there. I don't like big crowds, but like it
Yeah.
was pretty amazing to see photos and stuff of how like all those people in Liverpool and all that like red smoke, which
Oh yeah,
I
there's
was I
millions
was
of people
because
watching.
Tony's a big Liverpool supporter, so he was gutted that he wasn't there, and he's
Yeah,
sending me
so
photos, and I'm like, why is it pink smoke? I was like, is it pride or something? And he goes,
no,
you're
no.
cheeky, you. I
Did
was
you
like,
do
he
that to
goes,
wind them up, obviously, because you're
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, he goes, no, it just looks pink from a distance. He goes, but it's red, and I was like, well, it looks pink to me.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like I watched the whole thing on LFC TV and stuff, and I didn't want to mention it because, like, by and large, that day was nothing but a celebration, and everyone was having a good time and stuff. And I didn't want to give it any more negative airtime than it's already got.
Yeah.
Obviously, the people who've been hurt, it's incredibly sad and stuff. But it probably brings me nicely onto one of the first things I wanted to talk about, and it's probably it's grinds my gears.
Oh,
It's,
brilliant.
it's it's
Yeah,
what grinds my gears,
yeah,
um, and that's people or who will believe or will forward on or share information as if it's fact without actually checking it first.
yeah.
Like I seen one of my friends there on Facebook post a message the other day after all this, basically saying, if anyone else reshares this thing, you're just getting removed off my friends. And all it was is there was a guy on the day who was completely unrelated to the event who looked like he basically, there's a lot of police presence around the city when something like that's happening because there's millions of people there that aren't normally. And one of the guys had, in fun, had taken the policeman's hat, had it on, and was like dancing around or something. And someone took a photo of him. But for some reason, just misinformation, people started sharing this photo saying that this was the guy
Drove the car.
who drove the car into. Obviously, like this guy had nothing to do with it, by all accounts.
It's dangerous, that, isn't
And
it?
again, I've not fact checked this, so I'll carry out my own grinds my gears here and say I've not fact checked this, but you know what I mean? Like he basically shared it saying you could ruin this lad life,
Yeah,
and he's had nothing to do with it. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
like my grinds my gears is just that, like especially like I was thinking of it more with politics and sort of
yeah.
misinformation. It's so easy now for like the most loudly spoken about thing to become fact without anybody checking it. And I know it's always sort of been a problem with the media, but I think it's far worse now with social media and stuff.
It is. It's way worse. It's terrible, to be honest. Yeah, it's really bad. You see it all the time. A lot of it, sometimes it's even like not harmless things in comparison to what you just said, but it's like things like where I'm trying to think of an example. Like it can be, I seen one and it's just laughable because it just doesn't look real at all. But it's like the older generation it does because they don't understand what AI is. But it was like a photo of like a fishing boat and like polar bears on the boat with them and they're like petting the polar bears as if they're like they've climbed on the boat and like, oh, aren't they lovely? And then in the comments it was like, you're taking a risk there. They're one of the most vicious animals in the world. It's like it's not, it's clearly not real though. Like it's clearly not real, but it's like stuff like that and it's just posted. It's those vulnerable people that believe
100%,
it,
yeah.
like gullible people that believe it, that then make those posts go viral, which was the whole purpose of why it was even posted.
Yeah, engagement farming, isn't
And
it? You
have you
know.
seen the ones where it's like it's there's a voiceover and it's not always AI, sometimes it is real clips, and it's like this man hit this deer
Yes.
and like
Yeah.
and it's like and then it's like it guided it back to another deer. And if you look at them, like they're not the same deer in the video clips. It's not even the same man. It's like a
I know
different
it's
video
or
clip.
it's clip stitched together or the
Yes.
clips
And
clearly
people believe
edited.
it's like this little story.
Yeah, because you've got some like official. It's definitely you can tell it's AI, but there's some narrator over the top going. A man approaches a woman, and the woman makes this action and takes this, and now she's doing. And it's like people like you read the comments on this stuff, and I want to shoot myself.
Yeah. Because people are just so gullible, they just believe it. And they're
It's
playing into it. Even commenting and saying, I can tell this is fake. You're still playing into it. You're still adding to
yeah,
that
it
post.
deserves
Like
no airtime whatsoever, and by giving
none.
it any
No.
airtime, it rises up the ranks and more people see
Exactly.
it.
Just
You
report
know
it.
what I
That's
mean?
all you can do. And
Like I
even
know
then,
you did some stuff for a while, didn't you, on Twitter,
yeah,
where you were posting things where it was like left brain, right brain.
yeah,
But the idea of that it was supposed to be divisive, and the people
yeah.
that were falling for it, like you're the target of that
Yes.
stuff,
But
and it was a social experiment.
it was, and it's funny because like obviously the left brain, right brain, it's rubbish. It's not like it's always obvious what you can see, but you never tell
Yeah,
them that's what it is. You never say if it's a dog, you don't go, can you see the dog in the mountain? Because people will just go,
yeah. You
yeah,
go,
and they'll keep scrolling.
can you
So
see
you,
the airplane or can you see the
yeah,
house?
yeah.
It's
So
a dog.
you make two bogus suggestions about that image that is not the case at all. And like, and I kind of, I wouldn't, I don't know if I started it, but I definitely like sort of. I think I've been the single most, and I do blow me on trumpet when I say this. I think I've been the single most successful person with those posts because you see them all the time floating around on Facebook, and it's me. They're my posts, but my name's been cut out of it. Whenever you see one of these,
Yeah,
apparently, if you're left-brained, if you could, that's me. I started that. That was me.
yeah.
So like most of them are, it's my wording and everything. Like one of them had like 86 million hits on it. 86 million. I have to tweet to prove it. Like. So they
Yeah.
just go, it's just, yeah, it was an experiment, but it makes me
It's
laugh because
easy.
you,
This is sort of my point, right? Like that sort of content, not not throwing any shade at you at all. People who share that sort of stuff, right, and then paint it as if it's fact. Like you full well knew when you shared that sort of thing what you were shooting for. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It
yeah,
was at its core engagement farming, right? It's just like who falls for this, who's going to engage with it,
yeah,
what number of posts and likes and shares and all that nonsense is it going to drum up. But there'll be
yeah,
people, a layer of people behind you that will share that as if it's fact.
yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or just
they do.
riding your coattails or
Yeah,
whatever, you know what I mean?
there's different groups of people. There's the people that look at it and go, "Oh, left brain, right brain." Well, I don't see either image. I see something else. So what kind of brain am I? And
I'm
they
special.
genuinely, do feel bad for. I do feel bad for them because they genuinely they've completely fallen for it. So they will respond. Then you'll get the people that like know it's bollocks, and but they need to tell you that it's bollocks and that they've caught you out. But it's like, yeah, but you respond and you're still playing into it. And there'll even be people who are like, nice. What I can see is engagement farming, and I'll like post a little gif of like a farmer on a tractor going like this, and I'll say like, "Thanks for
We
engage."
got
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Thanks for engaging. Like you've just played into it, you moron. And then you'll just get people that just do it for fun, that they just want to share it because it's interesting and they've seen it and they just want
Even
to
that
share
these
it. So
people who will like actively go on there and
yeah,
feed into the bollocks to
yeah.
just feed more sort of
Yeah. And
responses from these
I just knew
people.
that like I worked it out that like people are so quick to correct one another online because it's this like it's the feeling of superiority that people get a
Yeah.
high off. And they look at something and go, that's not right. I'm going to tell them that that's not right. I just did it earlier. Somebody posted a meme of Danny Glover when he was in Lethal Weapon 1. and it was misleading because that like it was about him being 41 years old when he filmed the movie, but he's actually the character was 50 years old, so the meme falls flat because of that, and I had to point it out, and it's a natural instinct that I think all of us have got to point shit out, and that's the reason why those posts are so popular because the majority of people commenting are they're doing it to get the high of letting you know that they've noticed you've made a mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile,
And to be fair,
I'm in the background laughing because I've completely trolled everyone.
and you know what? Like it's a hard thing not to do. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like if you're getting caught with your pants down by that sort of thing, like you're not alone. Like
yeah,
we've all done it at some stage, you know what I mean? Like I've fell for it, you know what I mean? Where like, you know, when I bought this house, like I added myself to some like gardening and DIY groups on Facebook thinking, oh, I might get some ideas or some tips or whatever. But
yeah,
there's people who go on there and post engagement farming type content where they've either reposted other people's stuff or they're doing what you've done and saying like, making a bogus sort of claim
yeah,
about the thing or are giving bad advice because they know people are gonna like spring up and be like, oh, you don't plant them in the spring. What are you doing? You know what I mean? You plant them in
yeah,
the autumn and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
common knowledge sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like people
100%.
just
Yeah,
like the best one you see in those sorts of groups I find is like people who basically posted these things where quite clearly, like a wall that's been split in half or something, and quite
yeah,
clearly the answer to this particular problem is to rip the wall down and rebuild it or something. But there's like
yeah,
someone who's basically put like a bunch of sellotape in the crack or something. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, 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 yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it.
There was one that I posted once, and have you seen Blue's Clues?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like a little. I mean, this was on when we would have been in
Kids
school.
program, right? It
What?
was a kids program.
Yeah, it's a kids program. It's a little blue dog. It's not Bluey. It's this is from like when we were kids.
Yeah,
We
I
would have been
remember.
in like
I
high school.
vaguely remember. I think my little brother was into it.
Yeah, so like
I think I sort of missed it. But...
the man that was presenting it was a real man, and he wore like a like a striped green shirt, and the
Hmm.
dog was like a CGI dog, and the world was CGI, and there was this red chair in it, and that's the chair that you can see
Yeah,
there for people who are watching the video, and
looks like a red
I
settee
know
kind of option.
so I know that that's a chair from Blue's Clues. I can tell, and it was found in a it's called Goodwill, and it's like a secondhand store in America. And I thought if I just post that and go, look what I've seen, it's the chair from Blue's Clues in a Goodwill. People are just going to go, oh my God, that's amazing. And I might get like, a couple of hundred hits on it. But if I suggest that that's the chair from The Simpsons, which isn't even a chair, it's a couch in The Simpsons, people are going to jump all over me. So I typed up, spotted this chair today at Goodwill for $5. Looks like something right out of The Simpsons. Right. It had I'm gonna read out the exact amount here. View post activity. So I mean that was a while ago. It's at 10 million impressions, and that is like shares, how many times it's been commented on, reposts, like everything. And most of those comments are people telling me how much of a moron I am for not realizing that it's the Blue's Clues chair. And what's even better, right, is when some celebrities comment on it because then the tweet goes even more crazy.
Oh, it goes crazy. Yeah,
I did one. Do you watch The Office, the US version of The Office?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Angela on The Office commented on one. It was a cloud that looked like a cat, and she's obviously, as you know, famous in the show for
Known
loving
for a
cats.
cat in the show,
So
isn't it?
she's
Yeah,
seeing it and she goes, "It's obviously a cat." And of course, because she did that, it went mental. Arnold Schwarzenegger's son commented on one as well once, and they ended up there was a news article on it on some website somewhere about like Arnold Schwarzenegger had like made this tweet go viral, and it was me that he'd like commented on. It was weird.
yeah, because like you'd posted one at one stage and didn't it end up talked about on some like American football players podcast or something?
Yeah, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, it's got a podcast with his brother,
Yeah,
and
right.
yeah, it was on their podcast. They literally showed a picture of the tweet that you could see my face on their podcast video. Didn't mention
Yeah,
my name, but it was my tweet, and they read out what I'd said.
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just like I
It
just
is.
it just like that sort of thing, and as I says, like my original Grinds McGee is about people who just will believe what they see without questioning it is like at epidemic levels, and that AI thing that you mentioned as well. I seen a perfect example of this the other day where I'm just like, how gullible do you have to be here to fall for this? And it was basically some lass that I went to school with, like when I was a kid, had posted this video of basically like this 6'9" brick shit house martial artist UFC job, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
bulletproof fella and some like 80-year-old Shaolin monk in front of him. And the video starts and it's basically this like 80-year-old Shaolin monk and this UFC guy fighting and like the guy, the UFC guy's like in like a combat stance and he moves in like about to throw the punch. And this 80-year-old guy springs up and kicks him in the chin and knocks him out cold. Do you know what I mean? And for that first few seconds, it's like, whoa, is this? And then you see like basically his leg warp through the arm of the UFC fighter as he's falling, like it passes straight through him. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then he's got like 8 fingers and 10 toes, and
Yeah, it's just yeah,
it's quite clearly bollocks. You know what I mean? And she
yeah.
posts this and says like, "Wow," do you know what I mean? Like, "Wow," and I was like,
Totally falls
"Is
for
she?"
it.
Yeah, I was like, "Is she trolling?" So I clicked on it just to look at the comments to see what people said, and there was loads of people doing, "Oh, come on, that's AI, that's AI," and I expected it to be like, "Oh yeah, I know, I knew," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I sort of knew the person anyway, so I already suspected that wasn't going to be the case. And then she turned around and went, "Oh, is it? Like, how'd you know?" And it's like,
Oh my
we're
God.
doomed. We're doomed. We're absolutely doomed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's bad. That's really
Like, it
bad.
was a really bad, like, there's a lot of believable AIs out there. And the
Yeah,
first 2 or 3 seconds of that clip were semi-believable. But, like, literally from second four in, it was like the trashiest of AI
yeah.
sort of thing where, like, limbs are stretching and all sorts. Oh, is it? Is it? Is it AI? I was like,
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
yeah,
Okay, so slightly moving on. I mean, we're obviously doing grinds my gears, so I'll say mine, but it's got nothing to do with what we've just been talking about, apart from it grinds my gears, and that is AirPods. I don't know where you stand on AirPods, but I can't. I don't like them.
I love them.
Do you know why I don't like them? Because it's
Go
like
on.
it's because it's created more issues. Like, so in my pocket right now, okay, what was ever wrong? What was ever wrong with these? Like
He
seriously, I
says
mean,
untangling his bird's
yeah,
nest.
yeah. No, but seriously, what was wrong with these? Like seriously, what's wrong with the wired ones? They never break really. You never lose them. They're always there. They don't run out of battery. They're way. I just don't understand why this was ever an issue for anyone.
I don't think they were an issue. I would just say that both devices fill different sort of conveniences for me. Like, you're absolutely right. They don't run out of battery. Let's say, for example, now the main time I use my AirPods, right, are when I'm in bed watching something on my phone before I go to sleep and I don't want to wake up the wife,
Yeah.
or I'm on a plane. The great thing for me about the AirPods in both of those scenarios is I'm not getting wrapped up in cables when I'm rolling around in bed watching my phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not like, don't get me wrong, that's not a major problem. It's like
I
it's
use mine every
a
night in
complete
bed, and I never
it's a
get
third world
tangled.
problem, isn't it? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
being on the plane, being able to like get up and like not have to like wrap my me headphones around my phone or whatever, and then go somewhere, or like take them off and deal with the cable when I'm going through security or whatever. I can literally just walk around with my AirPods on. I don't know. It's just convenience for me.
See,
Like,
I would say wearing AirPods on a plane is that would be one of the worst situations to wear them because if you lose one of them on a plane, like if it falls on the floor or something, like all I ever hear from people, and Tony is guilty of this, is how much they're dead. One of them's died or they're both dead, or you've lost one. You don't know where it is because it's lost,
see, I
and they're
never
not
have that
cheap.
problem, but like I religiously when I'm not using them, like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I can do it in my sleep now. Like if I'm in there in bed and I'm falling asleep, I'm like, pick up my pod thing off the floor, click it open. You know what I mean? Put them in,
yeah.
down. I don't know. I just don't have that problem. I've never lost, like,
I
touch
just
wood.
I just always prefer wired ones. Like, okay, with games controllers, they were always wired, obviously. I totally
Hmm.
get it. And you know what? Wireless, why would you go back to wired? It's so much better. No one's going to walk in front of the TV and pull the
Yeah.
games console off the stand, which my cousin Dan did many times. And he's never lived that down since. I went through about three different PlayStation 2s because of him.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
But like, so that makes sense. But AirPods, I'm just like, this is not a solution to a. It's like a solution to a problem that didn't exist in the first place.
I
I
get
know
what
what
you
you're saying. It's
mean.
like
I
not a
get what you
problem,
mean.
but
Like, I don't think there was anything massively inherently wrong with headphones. What I'll say is right is that I went through about three pairs of wired headphones in the same length of time I've had my AirPods, and I've had no issues with one set of AirPods. And granted, the AirPods way more expensive than the
yeah,
wired i iPhone headphones or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Like way more durable in my opinion because I'm not tripping on what.
I would say that's a rarity, and you're an exception to it because I
Probably,
think
yeah.
a lot
But
of
I
people
look
just
after my
lose them.
stuff. Like I know I'm anal about looking after stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, whereas people would just forget about them or would take them off and put them in the pocket and then they'd run out of battery or whatever. None of those things apply to me.
Another thing that annoys me as well, and all phones have gone this way now, and it really pisses me off, is they got rid of the
The
what you
jack,
the jack. They got rid of
yeah,
the jack,
it's
right?
like a
So
three and
now
a
you have
half
to
mil
so now
jack. Is
you have to buy this now.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
put the jack in one end, and then that goes in your phone. Like it's just so annoying.
I will 100% agree with that
And then
because
I'm gonna lose this because it's, do you know what I mean? Where's this? Where am I gonna put this? Like it's just annoying.
the only time I use one of them right is again, ironically, when I'm flying. I've got a pair of Bose QC25 headphones that I bought ages ago. They're like the wired headphones, but the
Yeah.
active noise cancellation. So they got a battery in.
Yeah, and it's Bose.
Flick,
Like Bose is an amazing
you
company.
flick the
So
little button and they like deaden the sound. So like if I'm on a plane, can't hear the engine noises, can not hear like general atmosphere. I can hear people talking really sort of like low,
yeah,
but they're like I can sleep with them on, you know what I mean? And they
yeah,
have one of those, and I just keep that little cable, that little like connector bit for my phone in the like the case with the headphones, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But again,
yeah,
I'm probably the exception because I do look after my stuff like a nutter.
yeah. Also hear it's just people moaning, complaining. I've lost one. I don't know where it is. It's dead.
Yeah.
Like this just sound like a nightmare. I never hear anyone raise
You
and
can make
rave
them
about them, to
peep
be
and stuff,
honest.
can't you? Like I've never needed to do this, but I believe you can like locate them and make them pip and all sorts of stuff. Um, so it's obviously a problem because they've come up with solutions to address it from a technical perspective. But
Yeah.
yeah,
We just live in a
I
world
get
where they
what you
want to get rid
mean.
of wires.
I totally get what you mean. What I would say is that like I think they're a convenience rather than a necessity, and I think getting rid of the ability to just plug in traditional headphones into a phone is a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and
know they
issue
did some
now
of
it's like
that,
we've
didn't
been
they? Because of
forced.
waterproofing reasons and stuff. Like it's easier to waterproof a charging port and a speaker than it is to charge like a 3.5 mil jack, apparently. But I don't know. Like,
It's just
who knows?
annoying. It's just really
I get
annoying.
it. I get
So
it.
that grinds my gears for sure. So okay, so moving on, and we obviously this isn't going to be like a really long episode, so I don't know whether like is it worth getting in? If you can sum it up quickly, is it worth getting into D&D, or
Absolutely.
do you want to save it like Dungeons and Dragons, or do you want like?
Yeah, yeah. I can talk about it if you want.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
link
just I
it
know
in
that you've
with.
mentioned it's like I don't want to like open the floodgates and it be like a really long. Do you know what I mean? Take
Oh
up a
mate,
lot
I
of
could talk
time.
about
So
this for weeks, so I won't. But what I will do is I'll link it with one of the other topics that I think it's worth touching on because it's, you know, mental health
okay,
month.
right,
Is I'll
right,
link it
okay,
in with that and I'll
yeah.
say, you know,
We know nothing about it, by the way. So just to reiterate, on the last episode, me and Tony basically made ourselves look foolish because we know nothing about it at all.
I've not managed to listen to that yet, so
Okay, yeah,
but
we just sound like fools because we're trying to talk. Like Tony's guessing, and I'm like, that can't be right. I don't think Chris
why
would be into that. And
what
it's
didn't
just
you know about it?
well, so I thought it was a card game, and
Right.
Tony's like, no, it's like a role play. Like you get dressed up and that. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes,
Ah, you
you
don't
get
get
dressed up
dressed
like
up.
it's wizards and stuff. And I was like, I really don't think Chris dresses as a wizard. And he's like, well,
Nah.
if like
I mean
that's,
I
I'm
do,
pretty sure.
but not for those reasons. Nah, like I've actually got like one of the books sat next to me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a cooperative storytelling game where one person plays the dungeon master or the game master,
Yeah.
and basically they are responsible for all the things that the players see in the game. The players will play a character,
Is it a
and this
board
has been
game?
no, it's a role-playing game. It's a pen and paper RPG. Like some people use miniatures. There are some systems that have cards involved. But like literally you can do it theater of the mind. Like I'll send you
Could
clips
we?
after this, but you
Yeah, yeah,
could
could we play it like virtually, or do you have to be in
yeah,
person?
yeah. I play it like virtually every Tuesday with a group that I originally used to meet. in the pub
Oh
years
man, I
ago, and we
can't
all
get my
nicked
head around
away.
it. I can't get my head around it. I don't understand how this works.
So imagine, right, you've got like five or six people, yeah. Generally,
Yeah.
you get one person who plays the game master or the dungeon master. They present a scenario to the players. Do you know what I
Do they
mean?
make it up?
Yeah, or they can like this here that I've got next to me
Yeah.
is a campaign module. So this
All
is
right,
like
just give me a
that's been
scenario then. Give me like a
so
basic.
let's say a basic scenario, like one of the tropes is like you've got a group of people, you meet in a tavern, and they've been hired by some rich benefactor to go and retrieve some artifact from this dangerous dungeon.
Yeah.
And each of the people sat around the table, bar the dungeon master, plays a character. So one might play like a thief, one might play a warrior who uses a sword and a shield, one might play a wizard, one might play a healer, a priest, that kind of thing. And what they do is they will go to the scenario that has been given by the dungeon master, and the dungeon master describes what they're seeing. It describes the outcome of all of the actions that they want to take. So you can literally do anything, you know what I mean? The dungeon master could say, all right, you enter into a dark corridor. It's about 30 feet long and about 10 feet high of rough hewn stone. About 10 feet in front of you, there's a dark pit and some sort of wire that stretches across the corridor. What do you want to do? And it
Yeah.
builds from there, and the characters interact with each other. And by people responding how they want to act, you roll dice to decide how well or badly you do in that situation, and the fun comes from the outcome. So, like, someone might roll, like the warrior might decide, oh, I'm going to go up and I'm going to check that wire. But as a warrior,
Yeah.
they're terrible at dealing with traps and things if it's a trap. So they might roll and they might do horrifically badly. And then the fun comes from all of the fallout. Or, the warrior walks up and he tries to disarm this tripwire and he gets it horribly wrong. And a axe falls out the ceiling and swings towards him. Instead of lunging himself backwards into the safety of the area he knows behind, he leaps headforth into the pit ahead of him. What he doesn't realize is that the pit is actually a 40-foot drop into a river that's fast moving beneath it and is covered in these monsters who are now trying to eat the fella. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you've got three or four of the party stood up top deciding what they want to do in that scenario. Do we go in after our silly friend who's just fell down the hole, or do we let him die? You know what I mean? And like the whole scenario was built up like that, and the characters talk to each other and they progress through and they find items and they face harder and harder challenges. And that's just a single scenario. A campaign arc can be like, um, everyone's seen Stranger Things, right? Stranger Things is sort of like refocused D&D
Yeah.
because it's so popular. The whole premise of D, like I don't know if I think most people who listen to this show are probably going to have watched Stranger Things. The
Yeah.
entire Stranger Things is D&D. The
Right.
entire thing, the upside down, the um, what do they call it? The creature in the first thing,
Yeah.
Vecna, the guy who's like breaking the bones and that, they're all famous D&D characters.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, like Vecna is in D&D is this thing called an Archlich, who's this undead wizard who basically like rules the undead, and he's trying to become a god and bring
Okay.
about the death of everyone. Um, that's made D&D popular. You've got shows like Critical Role, who there are a bunch of voice actors who started recording their home game because a show called Geek and Sundry got wind of it, and it's now like incredibly popular. They've released a show on Amazon Prime called Vox Machina, which is
Yeah.
basically telling the story in cartoon form that you see them play out live in their show. And they fill stadiums now with people. I went to watch one of their live shows in London a couple of years ago, and they filled Wembley with
Wow.
spectators watching the game.
That's amazing.
Do you know what I mean? And they come on and they have a laugh. They all come onto the stage and they wore silly costumes for the event, but they don't normally.
Yeah.
Um, you had like it's just crazy. It's just one of those things that like unless you're sort of in it, you don't realize how big it is. When you get into it, you realize how many celebrities actually play. Like, do you know Joe Magniello?
I know the name.
Yeah, he has a home game that he plays where Vince Vaughn, the Big Show, or whatever his name is from wrestling, a whole bunch of other celebrities like Vin Diesel and all these go round to his house and play a regular game. Vin Diesel accredits him becoming an actor to play in D&D. And the
Wow,
more,
really?
yeah, yeah, the more and more people, like celebrities, actors especially, that you watch, every now and then they drop little hints and you go, he's a D&D player.
Yeah,
She's a D&D player. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they'll
that's cool.
talk, they'll say certain things that if you're involved in it, you'll go, okay. But other people outside of the hobby wouldn't get the reference.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like Henry Cavill, massive fame, played Superman and The
yeah.
Witcher and stuff. Huge nerd for stuff like this. Like he collects Warhammer 40K armies,
Does he really?
but he's talked about playing D&D in his, as often as he can.
Interviews and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
cool.
that's what it is. But the reason that I mentioned it in relation to mental health is that it's it's a way where like a group of adults, like my Tuesday group, for example, they're like there's a doctor in there who's a doctor scientist fella. There's a couple of company owners. There's a fella who was like some big shot negotiator back in the day. There's a couple of like VPs of business and all that. They get together. That like this is a group that ranges from like like I think the youngest in the group is like late 20s, early 30s, and the oldest guy's like in his mid 60s or something. We get together
Yeah,
once a week online on a Tuesday, and it's an excuse for a few hours to be a child again.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And experience that sort of childness, playfulness and stuff. And it's like it's so good for your mental health because it's just like having a laugh with your mates.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's like playing a game of what if,
yeah.
but every what if leads into another what if. That's what
Right,
it
okay,
is.
yeah. I suppose I'll have to sit in on a game to see how it works properly. Yeah,
Even if you're not gonna
interesting.
if you're not gonna play it, my recommendation to people who are listening to this would be like go and watch a show like Stranger Things if you've not seen it and see the references. Go and watch Vox Machina on Amazon Prime. It was by the way, it was Vox Machina when they did a Kickstarter for that. It was the most backed Kickstarter ever. They made
Wow.
like they wanted, I think it was like a few 100,000 to make this show at the time. They were more gauging interest than needing the money, to be fair. And I think they
Yeah.
got like 30 million or something in the space of
Wow.
like I think it was like a week or two. They made 30 million or something.
That's insane. Yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
cool.
It's big money. It's big money,
Yeah.
but it's amazing for mental health.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm kind of like that with the podcast. Like it's good for my mental health doing it. It's like regular ways of it's like therapy almost. You just meet up and talk and have a laugh and you can vent and all kinds and then people will listen to it and then conversations will continue between not just me but other people will talk about it as well and that's a nice feeling knowing that you've created something that people have
Mm,
taken away with them and yeah, it's nice. It's good.
absolutely. That's what it is, isn't it? It's like doing anything. It's like going and playing a game of golf or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like whatever gets you
Yeah,
excited, whatever gives you an
exactly.
escape from your day to day
Yeah.
sort of worries and stuff. It's just so it's mindfulness in a way that concentrates an active brain, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, so moving on from that, I will just mention as well, I was planning a trip this coming September to come back home. I'm actually not going to come back now because couple of reasons, but the main reason is it's just to do with vacation and work. I just don't have the time that I could, but I'd be stretching my days that I have
Put
left.
yourself in an uncomfortable position, like
Yeah, like so next year I gain an extra week at work, so I don't like an extra week off, so it'll be easier. So for this year, I'm just like, nah, I'm gonna leave it. And I
you were
was
going to do like
planning
a
on,
pub tour and stuff, or a pub crawl and stuff, weren't you?
yeah, like I was planning a pub crawl because it's the 10th anniversary, and I was gonna do it in Liverpool because Craig's there, and he's obviously a big part of the podcast. I mean, you're not there, but the invite
I
was
could have
extended
made
to
it,
you.
yeah, or
Yeah,
prefer.
and then there's like Kelly's there. She was a host for a long time on the podcast, and a bunch of other people as well. Mike, is another host, and he did our logo and our music. So like, there's a bunch of people that were gonna. Would have been a good place to do it, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it. And then I was also planning a band reunion, which I'd mentioned as well that I was going to be getting together with some of the members of my old pop band that I was in, and we were just going to do like a show for friends and family. and that's also fallen through now. We were planning it, and then one of the guys, it was actually Mike, who I just mentioned, he was going to join, because not every original member wanted to do it, which is fine. So he was going to join us and be part of the group, and he actually can't do the day that we picked, and there's no other day we can do because of other commitments with everyone else. So I was like, yeah, the
That's a
gig can't
shame.
happen. I haven't really got the vacation. I'll just leave it until like maybe next year. So yeah, so
Speaking
unfortunately,
of
I
your
won't be back.
music,
Yeah,
your the chap from New Zealand that you were doing a song with, Nick is
yeah,
his name.
Nick,
Did
yeah.
that ever happen, that song?
No. And so we got as far as so it was going to be Nick, and we were doing it with Ukadian. So Ukadian is me and Mike again, who I just mentioned. And Mike is just like extremely busy, and I don't do any of the music. Mike does
Yeah.
everything. He's
Oh
he's
yeah.
he just composes everything, and he's a whiz with all that stuff. And because he's like got a new job, and he's just not. You have to get him when he's like really in the zone, and he just wasn't
Yeah.
in the zone. So unfortunately, it sounds
That's a
like I'm
shame.
putting all the blame on Mike, and I guess I am in a way, but I'm making
Just
excuses for him.
sort your shit out, Mike. That's what we're saying, I
Yeah.
think.
So unfortunately, it didn't happen for that reason. So Nick is. I think Nick was planning on trying to get it sorted with someone else. I don't know if he ever did. I told him I was up for doing whatever, backing vocals, lead vocal, whatever he wanted, really. So we did. We wrote the song. We had the lyrics done, pretty much. I mean, lyrics do change as you progress with the track, but yeah, it was coming together, and it was going to be a good song. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen. So yeah,
Fair enough. Well, I'm sure it will at some point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Either with or without me. So hopefully it'll get finished, because it was a special song for Nick as well. He's been through a lot, like with his CF that he's got, cystic fibrosis, and
Yeah, because that's
um,
what the song was originally about, wasn't it? It's like
yeah, and
Help
we
Me
changed
Breathe or
"Help Me to Breathe." Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was a special song. It still is, for Nick. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens in
Sam
the
of it.
future. I'll let you know if it happens anyway.
Fair. Anyway,
Um,
another question for you.
yeah.
What do you think of live action films?
Okay. So I'm really glad you've asked this question, because um, it's kind of the same as what you're talking about. So like live action films means that it was like an animation at one point,
Yeah.
and they've gone to, yeah. Okay. So
Like the new Lion King or
yeah, it's
Lilo and
okay. So
Stitch.
the Lion King, we'll go with the Lion King first. I'm not a fan of those two, because or the Jungle Book, because I think it's extremely difficult to animate an animal like it's supposed to look like a real animal. I think it's
And put
very,
emotion on it.
yes,
Yeah,
because
I think the
animals
exact
don't
same thing.
show emotion like that. So it's
No.
very difficult to do. So I'm not a fan of those ones for that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, but recently, and I just finished season two, so it's not a movie. It's an adaptation of a video game. I've just finished watching The Last of Us. I don't know
That
if
is
you've,
incredible.
yeah. So I started with a video game. It was like so I pay for the PlayStation Plus, so it's like you get all these games for free. I mean, you're paying for them, but it's like you download what you want. It's kind of like Netflix. So that was on there, and I'm like, it looks really good. The graphics are good. I'm not really into like what you'd consider like a zombie type game. I was never into Resident Evil and all those games, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a go. So download it, started to play it, really enjoyed, kind of a little bit in the same sense of like Dungeons and Dragons, where like what you decide is it depends on the fate and how your path changes on what your decisions you
Yeah,
make.
your actions
Very
have
similar on our video
consequences.
game. Yeah, very similar on our video game. Like you can be in a room where you found a gun and you found six bullets. It's very easy for you to go into the next room, and there'd be a couple of, they're not zombies, but we'll call them zombies. You find a couple of zombies in there and just put bullets in their heads and move through. But then you've used bullets that you could use at a more at a
Crucial
time where you
moments.
need them
Yeah,
more. Whereas if you just
yeah,
went in there and threw an empty glass bottle to distract them so that they go where the noise was, you could have snuck past them and you still have your six bullets. So it's very like it depends, because like you can do it, but you can go in and shoot them all, and then you can still get through the game. It's just a different way of doing it, because you've used all your,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I liked it for that reason. And I knew there was a TV show, and because I was hooked on the game, I'm like, I need to give this TV show a go. So I watched the first episode, and I was instantly hooked from in the first episode. I don't know what it is about it, but I was just like hooked in, and I needed to know what happened.
Well, ironically, I was talking about D&D and Critical Role and that show
Yeah.
Vox Machina. The woman in who played the voice of Ellie in the games, is
Yeah.
one of the players in Critical Role. It's
Oh,
a lady
really?
called Ashley Johnson, yeah. She also played Ellie's mother in the
Okay.
live action show. So
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
That's
want to give
her, is
anything
it?
away, but
Yeah.
when you see that woman in the house and
Yeah.
stuff happens, that's
Yeah.
Ashley
Yeah.
Johnson. And she was the one who played the voice of Ellie in the games
Okay.
because
She's
she's
been in other
primarily
stuff
a
as
voice
well.
actor.
I recognized
Yeah,
her
yeah.
face.
She's been in, is it Bones or something it's called?
Yeah.
Um, they're massive now. So like those guys were already like featuring in bits and pieces here and there. But like Critical Role has just like shot them to mega fame. So like
Okay. Oh, I didn't
as
know that she
soon
was the one who voiced the character in the game. That's interesting.
yeah,
I
they
like
they
that.
basically asked her because, but obviously because she's got quite a young sounding voice,
Yeah.
so they asked her to do the voice of Ellie in the games because she's a professional voice actor. But they wanted to make her a part of the
Yeah.
show as well because of like how iconic she is to the games, and it wanted to be like a
Yes.
little nod to the fans of the games. So you
Yeah.
have her playing Ellie's mum in the show,
Yeah. Yeah. It
which
was
is like
great. I liked it.
is a
It was
nice
good. Good
touch.
little cameo. It
Yeah.
was good. I liked it. Yeah.
But
But
I
yeah.
agree
So
with
that.
you wholeheartedly. Like the animals don't translate well into live action, and I said the exact same thing about Jungle Book that you did when we
Yeah.
seen it. Like Jungle Book when I was a kid, the cartoon was probably my favorite film as a kid. Like even to this day now, like I know all of the songs and things off by heart because I just used to
Yeah.
watch it over and over and over again. But like I watched it. It's not that it was bad. It was just it loses something when you
It
can't
does.
when you don't see like Simba laughing in The Lion King. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or making faces with Nala and Nala like screwing her face up, like confused about what Simba's doing or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the
Like it's
same.
just
It's
not
just
the
not the
same.
same at all.
Not that it
Yeah.
was bad. I actually thought The Lion King live action, like what is it? The latest one, Mufasa or something they call it,
Yeah.
was decent, but it's just not like it doesn't suit the format well. But then on
Yeah.
the other hand, I went and seen the live action Lilo and Stitch weekend gone.
Oh, you seen it, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually like I'm lucky that I'll caveat this and say if you're going to watch it and you haven't watched it yet, guys, be careful of the fact that it is basically almost word for word what happens in the Lilo and Stitch animated movie.
Okay. Because
And
I've
it was
never seen
only
them. I've never watched them. So
oh, you're all right then. Do you know what I mean? But like
yeah.
I basically we had like movie night on a Friday, me, Louise, and Theo, and we put knowing we were going to see the Lilo and Stitch movie on, we put the animated version on the Friday night, going to see the film, the live action film on the Saturday without knowing that he was same. And it was only because I'd watched the advert for the live action one about 15 minutes into the film, I realized we need to stop here because we're about to watch the exact film that we're going to go and watch tomorrow. It's just they've redone it as a they've changed some things and some characters are slightly different and some of the moments are slightly different,
Yeah.
but it very closely follows the storyline of the animated film. So
Ah, okay. No, that's good
don't
to
get
know. Yeah.
caught out by that, like I
Yeah,
nearly
because
did.
we talked about that. We talked about throwing the cartoon on first and then going to see it. So yeah, no, that's good to know.
I did the same because like I hate going and seeing a show of anything. Like this is why it does me. I didn't happen to wait like a year between series. I'd rather wait for something all to come out and then binge watch it.
Yeah.
Even though that's very hard to do because it's like if everyone did that, the shows would not exist because they would have no viewership and stuff. But I hate like having to try and like remember what had happened in the previous thing or like watch a catch up. And I'm like, I've got a shit memory, so I'm like sat there going, "Who's that? Why are they doing that?" And I just get frustrated. Do you know what I mean? Who's this
Yeah.
guy who's just turned up but seems to be important to the plot line of the show, and I remember nothing about him. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's yeah. Um, God, what else? I'm just looking at my list.
The
Oh
podcast, the
yeah,
rising creator.
yeah. So that was good. Yeah. So we've got this rising creator badge now on Facebook, and I mean to be completely honest, I haven't really posted much since we got it. To be honest, so it's hard to say, like if I can see there's a difference. I have posted some stuff, but not a lot. So, but yeah, no, you just to have that. That's it's good. It is good that we've got it. We've worked hard
What does
for
it
it.
what does it mean?
Well, from what I can work out, what it says is that like our page is now going to be recommended to other people. So like the way you'll just be scrolling on Facebook and you'll see posts from pages you don't even follow.
Mm.
Has that
Like
happened?
suggested pages and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You'll just be scrolling. You go, "What's this?" Like, I don't even. What is this page? And it'll come, say next to it, follow. I think we are now on that now. So I think we're
Oh,
being
that's cool,
recommended.
isn't it?
Yeah, could even be to Trailer Park Boys fans because that's our demographic on that page. It just is. We've got a
Mm.
lot of like fans of that show. So maybe it's coming up on people who are fans of that show. It's being recommended to them. We have
You
had
know
some
what
new
I'd love to
followers.
know? I'd love to know how many people who maybe found the page via those recent posts, specifically the one I'm talking about in my mind, is the one where you basically used AI to turn the Trailer Park Boys into a bunch of black dudes, right? Like, I'd love to know if you found the podcast via that image.
Yeah,
If you're listening now, drop us a message or something on Facebook.
yeah, that would be nice to know. Yeah,
Let
it
us
would be.
know. Do you know what I mean? Because it adds. Gav, especially here, puts in a lot of work to this podcast. You know, like
Yeah,
you wouldn't believe the amount of conversations that go in the background to set up guests and all of this other stuff. And knowing that people are finding the podcast, like, don't get me wrong, if you've been a long time listening, we'd love to hear from you as well. But you know what I
yeah,
mean? Especially if you're new to the podcast and we've maybe not spoken to you yet, let us know. Drop us a
yeah,
message because
yeah.
it just
Please
adds
do. Yeah.
fuel to the fire.
Yeah, reach out and let us know because it's always interesting to find out how people have found us. So yeah, please do. Just like any, however you want to DM us, comment on a post, whatever, anything.
It's dead
Email us.
easy, isn't it? I think to like record these podcasts and especially with some of the guests we have on, you know what I mean? Like some of the guests we have on are amazing, really.
Yeah,
But once you've recorded like an episode of the podcast, we put it out there and then it's very difficult to know, like, other than seeing some numbers appear on the screen, who's actually listening, who's watching,
yeah, it
who's
is.
enjoying it, you know what I mean? Like obviously if you
Yeah,
if you're seeing it, like and subscribe and all of that
because
kind
I
of
can go off the
nonsense.
stats and I can see that people are listening to it and people are watching it when you put it on YouTube. But like, if people aren't commenting, I don't know who likes it
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. Like, it's nice to know where people are finding it and how they're finding it. So. Even if it's a recommendation from someone else, which is that would be amazing if it's like, oh yeah, my friend told me, like, I'd love that. Like that's really
I
cool.
think that
Word of
I
mouth.
think that's like the I think that is like the gold standard of whether it's doing well. Do you know what I mean? Like not how many listens or how many likes and all that has. That stuff's obviously important because it drives us further up
Yeah.
the rankings and stuff. But
Yeah.
like knowing that someone liked it enough to turn around to a friend and say, "Hey, go and listen to these guys." You know,
Yeah.
like that's amazing. You know, like I have people, mainly in my immediate friend and family circles and stuff, who I don't think listen to this, turn around to me and start talking to me about something that we've spoke about on here. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits when they do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because,
no, I am as
oh
well.
my
It's
God.
it's really cool. Yeah, it is.
But you don't
Um,
know that they do it, you know what I mean? Like I was speaking to a friend the other day and he's like, yeah, I go out for walks or runs or whatever. And I put the podcast on and listen to it. And I was fucking chuffed to bits when I heard that, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
it's
I know.
amazing when strangers find us as well, but when like your friends or your family especially have taken time to listen to you drivel on for hours on end.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something that like because I work with a guy called Mason, so shout out to Mason. But like he said something, I can't even remember what it was now. He referenced something that we talked about on the podcast, and he said it, and he looked at me and smiled, and I had no clue what he was talking about, and he was like, "I listened to the podcast." Like he'd listened to it, I didn't even know he'd listened, but he like remembered something and made a reference about it. So yeah, no, that stuff like that's really cool. I like it when that happens.
Yeah, it is good. It's good to know, isn't it? Like, but
Yeah,
it's very
and
hard to be seen and heard with something like this in what is basically a very saturated market now.
oh, everyone's got a podcast, and that's why it's frustrating for people like myself who've been doing it for 10 years. Like
Yeah,
everyone's doing it now. So it's like it's hard because like obviously as a podcast listener, there's only so many podcasts you can keep up with regularly. So if somebody's more entertaining than you, you've lost a listener essentially because you
yeah,
want those regular listeners who listen all the time. So
100%. Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you know what I mean? Like, and you do messages and that, it's amazing to know who you are and who's listening because
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that allows us to sort of know what's hitting the notes and what's not.
yeah.
Which is
Any
important.
feedback
We're
is
still,
good feedback as well.
yeah, 100%, yeah. We're still going to
Um,
talk bollocks. We're still going to talk about
yeah,
random
that's going to happen
stuff.
anyway. We can't help that. Um, But talking to guests, we did mention guests, and I don't often do this, but I'm going to do it with this one because I actually don't, for some reason, I don't think it's going to happen. But it's a funny one, as I already told you about it. But
Yeah.
so okay, so I get I get a reply to a DM, right, on the podcast in Twitter page, and it was from this woman who's known as Busty Heart. Now, if you Google Busty Heart, you're gonna. I mean, a lot of people might even know who she is. So she is. She's in the Guinness World Records for being. She smashes up watermelons and is it
Crushes
bricks?
cans.
Cans. That's it. Cans. She crushes like cans, like like soda cans. With her breasts, which I can't remember the official size of them, but they're ridiculously big. Like they're like stupidly big. Like they're massive.
Put your safe search on before you search her.
Yeah, yeah. And like I mean, it's only ever, which is a question I would ask her if we ever did get her on, but like it's normally only the right one that she uses. I've noticed she like picks it up and then like she'll like smack it down onto whatever she's
Yeah.
trying to break, and she does it. She breaks them, breaks whatever it is she's smashing. But like the left ones just doesn't really get you. I've not seen it being used, so that's the question I would say.
Maybe
Like,
it's
do you
just like a
rotate them?
favorite side or something, yeah,
Or do
but
you just like do you rotate them like, or like do you only hold the record for that breast? Because I've not read. I don't know.
what like the yeah, because we've not looked into the specifics, but maybe like the record only qualifies if it's the right tit or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
So, but what was funny about this one was, so she's respond. Keep in mind, she's responding to a message that was sent to her, and I didn't even. I'm like, who's this woman? I didn't even know who she was, and she's like, sorry for my late reply. I've been living in California, but now I've moved back to Pennsylvania, and I've started my own business. I'm very interested in coming on a podcast. Tell me more. So I'm like, who's this? So look, the message that was originally sent to it wasn't even sent by me. It was sent by probably Scott because we used to share access to the account, although he doesn't remember doing it either. 6 years ago, it's taken her 6 years to read that message and reply. 6 years.
I want to know what she was doing in her inbox back that far to find that.
Yeah, six
That's the
years.
question I want to ask her.
So I've replied, and this is the reason why I said like I don't really think it's going to happen because like it might be another 6 years before I hear back. Like I don't know. She's not read it, and I sent this last week, so
I think
I
she'd
don't know
be a
what's
fun
going on.
one if we could get her on though, because she seems
Well,
pretty
she
eccentric, doesn't she?
does.
Like,
She does seem like she'd be a good laugh, and I think it would be. It would definitely be an interesting interview, but also very funny. But the other thing is, I was talking to Tony before he popped in to give me a birthday gift. I turned 41 on, losing track now. I turned 41 on Friday. It's
oh,
Wednesday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. So he popped in with a little gift, which was just like some British things. It was actually a bunch of cans of Iron Brew that he brought me because
Love
it's
it.
my favorite drink. So that's what I've been drinking. So he showed up with that, and I mentioned I was doing a podcast with you, and he goes, "Oh, you interviewing that woman who's you ask her about the court case?" And I'm like, "Court? What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, she tried to suffocate someone." And he go, what do you mean? He goes, well, allegedly. He goes, I don't know if it actually happened, but like apparently, like we need to do our research because I don't know what rabbit hole we're going down here, but like apparently, like there's a court case where she's attempted to suffocate someone
Oh my God, that's
with her
amazing. Yeah, like
chest.
when I only had a quick Google because when you message me and says like, "Hey, this woman's come back. Like, do you want to do it?" You know what I mean? Like, do you want to interview her and stuff with me? And I was like, "Who is this?" You know what I mean? And when I had a quick look, sort of thing, and I watched the video and stuff you sent. But yeah, I think if she does agree to come on, we'll have to do a bit of research there. And again, if anyone's listening who's got any, like, look this woman up. If you got questions for her, let us know because we're all ears. Like, she just seems like
Yeah.
she'd be a dead fun one. But are you allowed to
Yeah,
talk
we're
about the
all
other one that
ears,
we
and
were
she's
talking
all
about?
tits.
Are you allowed to talk about the other one that you're potentially getting, or?
I don't even know what that is, so let's just say no for now because I don't know who it is. So
Okay.
you'll have to text me afterwards because I can't even think of who that
Yeah.
is. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I do. No, let's leave that one for now because we don't know.
Okay.
If we don't
Yeah.
know, that will be a really
That would
cool
be a
one.
fun one as well.
Yeah, if that happens, that'll be really cool. So
You
yeah,
know who I want us to try and like hit up
who?
on this theme of quirky eccentrics, like Lion King. What was the fella's name? Tiger King.
Tiger King.
And
Oh,
the
yeah, Joe
woman
Exotic.
Carol Baskin and stuff.
Carol, you want to try and get Carol Baskin on the pod?
Yeah, why not?
She might.
Carol Baskin, that
She
bitch.
she might do it, but we'd have to. I think we'd have to really, if we were like lucky enough to get her to agree, we'd have to really sort of make the interview unique because like the questions, I'm sure she
He
gets are
gets
just the
loads,
same
yeah.
questions over and over again.
I
So,
would just ask her, like, personally, like, I imagine she gets asked to death about the whole scenario around the Tiger King and her thoughts on it and all this kind of stuff. I would completely avoid all that personally. And I'd
yeah.
want to know, like, who she is as a person because I don't know, like, did you watch that show?
Yeah, we
Tiger
interviewed
King?
somebody from that show, like on the podcast. When it was
All
at its
right.
height in 2020, Chris, we interviewed, you know, the person who has their arm bitten off.
No way.
That person, and that I don't, okay, so I have to be honest, and I even asked them at the time, I wasn't sure what they preferred to be referred to as because they're essentially non-binary. So I don't want to offend. So I asked, I was like, what do you prefer? And they said, I actually don't care, but I think they went with he, I think, but like his name is Saf, and
Stop.
yeah,
I think I
he,
remember the
they,
person. Yeah, I can see the face.
yeah, they really weren't bothered. They were just like, I don't have a preference. Call me whatever you want. Like they just didn't care. So
Oh,
we'll
that's
just
so
leave
cool.
they
I'll
know.
have to listen. I'll
Yeah,
have to
really
listen
good
back
one.
to that.
But like it's one of our most popular episodes because we interviewed them right when it was at its height. Like it's all people were talking about.
Everyone
And
was
I
looking at the content and
I
stuff.
just I thought, right, we're not gonna get Joe Exotic on. We're not gonna get any of the big we're not gonna get Carol Baskin, we're not gonna get any of those big names. Let's go with the smaller ones. So I reached out to them on Twitter and they responded and said, yeah, I'll do it.
That's so
So
cool.
it was
I mean, like,
really
if he
good.
did
Listen
get
to
Carol
it because it's a
Baskin,
good interview as well. It's a really good interview.
I'll have to look. I'll have to look that up. Like, yeah, like I'm sort of listening back since I got involved. You know, I'd always like dabbled and listened to a little bit, but since I got involved, I'm sort of listening back from newest to oldest. I know that's a really weird way to do it, but I
Yeah.
kind of want to see, like, you know what I mean, like the most recent content, and then, like, I don't know.
Another good one, just while we're on like the Netflix thing. Another good one we did was an interview with a guy called David Rudolph, who is a lead attorney in America, and he was I don't know if you've ever
Never heard
seen
of him.
the documentary The Staircase.
Yes, you.
Okay.
I actually, I watched it like half of that after you recommended it to me.
Oh, did you?
Uh, for some reason, I think we ended up just like sacking it off and watching something else. It wasn't that it wasn't good. I think it was just one of them things where, like,
Yeah.
we had a busy couple of weeks and we didn't watch it, and then we just didn't go back to it. If you know what I mean, like something
Yeah.
else that we were wanting to watch. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
like I knew and recognized it. Was he like he was the main dude that was
he
leading
was the
the?
guy. He was the attorney for the guy who was accused, and so like he came on the
Yeah,
podcast. This again, this is when that documentary was at its height. It had just come out kind of thing, and it was being raved about. And so I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll come on." And he came on, and so me and Scott were like, "Geez, like I feel like we're out of our depth interviewing this guy. He's obviously a really intelligent guy, and like we don't know anything about the law profession. Like, what are we gonna do?" And I think we handled ourselves quite well. We asked him a few questions that like weren't answered in the documentary, and he gave us an answer, and it was yeah, really. That's another very popular one of our episodes.
yeah. I look back at that. But I was gonna say, like, with back on the Carol Baskin thing, and it's probably quite selfish to like want to speak to her. But I think it's very easy on my original point to watch that show and form opinions of that woman based on the obviously the very sort of specific content that you know, the show's painting her in a certain light, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I want to try and get a gauge for what she's actually like outside of that setting. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
how crazy have they made her look in that show versus how normal might she be in reality? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think anybody who's ever been on TV or anything like that, or ended up in the news or anything, like, it's so easy to just pick out certain things that you've said and make you look like a head case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had that brief appearance in the news fairly recently over in Northern Ireland about the water.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean? And like, I was talking to this woman for like a while, you know what I mean, going back and forth. And the one line that she seemed to latch onto and quote and everything was that I said, like, we were basically talking about the taste and the quality of water over here because there's a pollution problem at a big lake near me where a lot of the area's water comes from. And like, I'd made like the water companies or something had said something along the lines of, it just tastes like beetroot or something. And
Oh
I
yeah,
said, I don't want a glass of beetroot, I want a glass of water. And it was like a throwaway comment that I made amongst a whole other picture of stuff. But for some reason, she put this in quotes.
yeah,
And it, like, when you read the article, I sound like a nut job.
yeah. Because she thought that's the quirkiest line I can go with, and it's going to have people
Yeah,
wondering what he's talking about. And yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
bad. Yeah, the media's bad for
Like,
stuff like
who's
that.
this local loon that's shouting about the water? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know whether that was her agenda or that was her intention, but that's how I think it's come. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, people who knew me and who read it, it gave them a good laugh because they obviously they knew that I'm not like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm quite passionate about that particular topic, and I know quite a bit about it. But yeah, to make me sound like I'm some sort of like hillbilly moaning about, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that I'm going to go down and flip me lid or something because my water tastes like beet. I don't give a shit. I don't think it tastes like beetroot. That's what the water company said, and I
that's
just
what
quote
they said. Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wasn't even you. Yeah.
The,
Oh
the
man.
point is, like, it's dead easy to twist people, isn't it, in that sort of format to make them sound or look nuts. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that of
100%.
Carol Baskin in that show. I'm sure they had hours upon hours upon hours of content with that woman, and they'd probably cut it down to the bits where she looks like a murderer, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
basically, yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Made her look guilty, basically,
mm,
with no real evidence as well. Might I add, there's not really evidence for it. It's just like
nah.
a load of bollocks.
And it goes
And
back to my,
unknown.
my grind of gears earlier, how like that echo chamber of just repeating what you've heard or what's been published in the media, whatever way, is really dangerous thing.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. I don't know if there's anything else to add, Chris. I think we've been recording for an hour, so we can probably wrap it up now.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that was a
Episode
good chat.
232, guys. Welcome.
What's that? What you say?
Episode 232, welcome.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get started. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that one in the bag. And yeah, who knows? Busty Heart maybe on episode 233. We'll have to
Oh,
wait and see.
that would be so good if we can get her on. I think I just got a feeling like she's going to be so entertaining to listen to. She's going to have some stories. I think
Yeah.
it'd be really good if you could get Cookie on to talk to her as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I've got a feeling if you could get them two in a room together, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that will be funny. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Or even just Tony. Tony would be funny as well.
yeah. I think Tony would just be that dry with
Yeah.
her, you know what
Or
I
just
mean?
like, don't tell him, but just halfway through being Bertie on.
Like,
Bertie wouldn't even know where to look, would he?
well, probably her tits.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have anywhere else to look. Right, okay. On that note, we will wrap it up
Yeah,
and we will be back in a few weeks with episode 233. Thanks for listening as always, and cheers for joining me, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
yeah. Cheers, Gav.
All right, see you, mate.
See you guys.
Bye.
See you guys.